Hello, welcome back to our channel, and we are here again to entertain another question from our viewer. In this video, we will be talking about the crime triangle. Again, this question was asked by one of you guys who wanted to know the crime triangle. So the triangle represents the elements of a certain thing. Without one side of the triangle, the remaining two will collapse, and as a result, crime will not exist. So that is what the triangle symbolizes in this discussion. As you can see, there are elements of crime that needs to coexist with each other in order for crime to be born. Those elements are represented by the sides of the triangle. As you can see above, I have there the illustration of the triangle. The other side or the three sides means the intent or motive, and the other side is the instrumentality, and the base is opportunity. And inside the triangle, we have there the word crime. So what does it signify? Meaning that before a crime will exist, intent or motive and instrumentality or capability together with opportunity must coexist with each other before crime will occur. Without one of these elements, crime will not occur. So let's talk about motive slash intent or slash desire. Motive or intent or desire is already within us as an individual or as a human being. So we all have a desire, and that desire will motivate us to do some act, whether that is legal or illegal. So let's say, for example, your desire is to get rich quickly. Then that will motivate you probably to engage into an illegal activity. As they say, there is no shortcut for success, but some individuals really find a way in order to succeed quickly. And sometimes that desire to achieve their goal quickly or become successful as quick as possible motivates them to engage into illegitimate activities. So I'm talking about crimes and other relative activities. All of us have the desire to be successful, to live a sumptuous life, to be respected, to achieve our dreams. Those are the common desires that we as an individual has in common. However, these desires motivates us into different behavior. Some is motivated positively while others are motivated negatively. And when we talk about those individuals who are motivated negatively, these are the people who cannot delay their wants to be gratified or for gratification. They want shortcut for everything. And by doing shortcut, sometimes they stumble upon these opportunities that will lead them to the path of criminality. That first element of crime, we're talking about intent, motive, or desire, cannot be removed because it is already embedded into our genes and into our soul as a human being. It's just normal to have a desire or to develop a desire of your own. But what is unacceptable is to be motivated by those desire to involve yourself into criminality. So that's for the first element. As we have stated, we cannot eradicate or we cannot remove that parts of the elements or part of the triangle, since these desires and intent or motive that we have cannot be undone, since it is already part of our consciousness as an as a human being. So let's proceed to the second element of crime, and that is instrumentality or capability. So let's talk about instrumentality first. Instrumentality refers to those instruments that are used in order to accomplish a certain criminal act. A person who wanted to kill somebody will pick a certain instrument to use in order to accomplish his criminal desire. So we're talking about firearm, we're talking about knives, or other dangerous instruments. So this is the justification of the gun control or the prohibition of some type of deadly weapons that our government are imposing to us because they wanted to limit the instrumentality, the availability of this deadly instrument for them to be used in committing crime. So for example, firearm. There are laws that was enacted that regulates the possession of firearm because firearm is a very deadly weapon. And if it is not regulated, then people will have access onto this weapon, and that will make our country more chaotic. The same is true with regards to the regulation of the use or carrying of deadly weapons such as blades, knives, and other types of deadly weapons. Because imagine if they don't regulate or prohibit the access for this instrument, then anyone will have access to this, and anyone who wanted to commit a crime have the access to these deadly weapons, then what will happen to our country? What will happen to our society? Okay? So that would be very chaotic. Imagine you get into an argument with your neighbor, and since both of you have firearms, you fired at each other. So those are just simple matters that should have not been escalated into that situation, but because of the availability of these different instrument, deadly weapons, then committing crime became easy since they're always available. So that is instrumentality. However, again, if we ask the question, can we eradicate instrumentality in order for crime not to exist? The answer is no. Because even a simple piece of stone can be used to kill somebody. If you really have the desire to commit a crime, even the simplest object present in your surroundings can be utilized to commit crime. For example, those who commit akyat bahay, do they need a ladder? Or do they bring ladders whenever they're going to rob a certain establishment or a house? No. They just use whatever instrument or objects that they can find in that specific neighborhood or house in order for them to commit the crime. So even if we prohibit or regulate the use or the possession, the ownership of firearms, we regulate the possession of deadly weapons, still a person who is motivated to commit a crime does not need to have an efficient instrument. A piece of stone, your bare hands is already enough to hurt somebody or to kill somebody if you have the desire. So we cannot eradicate instrumentality because it is always present in our surroundings. Okay? What about capability? Capability pertains to the ability of the person to commit his crime. For example, a person suffering from mental disorder, can he commit a crime of estafa? We look into the personal circumstances of the person. Will his mental problem makes him incapable of committing a crime like estafa? These types of crime needs the person who wants to commit this in a good mental health. So he is not clearly capable of committing the crime since he has mental problem. He is not mentally stable. Okay? What about a person with disability? Can he rob a bank? Can he snatch an item and run faster than his victim? This is one of the circumstances wherein criminality may not exist if we incapacitate the person or the individual to commit the crime. So this is where the concept of incarceration comes in. In order for those criminals not to continue their criminal career, they are being incarcerated, imprisoned. They are isolated from the rest of the community. That makes them incapable of committing crime. So that is with regards to incapability. That is actually a good solution in reducing the criminality in the society. If we are going to incapacitate the individuals from committing crimes by imprisoning them, then that would reduce the problem that we have in the field of criminology. However, the justice system must make sure that those who are being imprisoned are really those who commits crime. Because if not, then what is incarceration for? What is imprisonment for if the person who are guilty of committing crimes are not the persons that are being put behind the bars? So that's very stupid for the criminal justice system if they're putting the wrong person behind the bars. Because the purpose of incarceration is to isolate those criminals from the rest of the society for them to be incapacitated of continuing their criminal career. But if they're imprisoning the wrong person, then that is just a waste of time. Why bother? Why bother imprisoning people if the right individual to be imprisoned are not being imprisoned? Because maybe they have money to pay for a good lawyer, they have money to bribe the police officer, judges, and so on. So it's useless, very useless. Okay, so that's with regards to the other side of the crime triangle. So we talk about desire, intent, motive already. Now we discuss already the instrumentality and capability of the person. Okay, so if we both have these two elements, we only need one more element in order for crime to exist. And what is that element? That is opportunity. Opportunity talks about the chance given by the victim to the offender, for the offender to commit his crime. So this is where the victim participates in his own victimization. I don't call this victim blaming. We call this victimology, wherein we study what makes a person a victim. What is his contribution to his own victimization? Because believe it or not, if the victim did not provided an opportunity, then definitely crime will not be committed upon them. So we're talking about involving yourself into illegitimate acts. Well, that makes you prone to being a victim of criminality. Most of the victim actually provides opportunity. You left your house open without any security. Then that is an open invitation already for the criminals to victimize you. Or you are walking alone in the middle of the night. You're going out middle of the night, walking through your neighborhood, knowing that there might be some individuals that are planning to hurt you or do something to you, then you're just giving them an invitation for their desires to be accomplished. Going with a stranger, someone that you met online, then you went out with that person, even if you don't know him that well. But since he is handsome, he is beautiful, he looks clean and trustworthy, you believe that illusion already. After that, you became a victim of crime. Who to be blamed? Of course, it is the offender. But you cannot deny the fact that if you did not went out with someone whom you really don't know well, then that would not happen to you. So, in every crime, there is the participation of the victim to his own victimization. I'm not fan also of victim blaming, but what I'm pointing out is that every individual who falls into criminality or who falls into becoming a victim of a certain crime had participated or contributed to his own or her own victimization. So, as an individual, we must always be vigilant and be mindful with our actions because criminals are everywhere. They are not wearing tattoos. They are not looking like a bad guy anymore. They can look like you or me or everyone else in the society. So everyone can be a criminal. Stop judging individual based on how they look or based on their social status because that is no longer the proper means to identify who is a criminal or not. Sometimes because of this mindset that we can figure out criminals by their looks, by their clothes, and the manner they are presenting themselves to the society, those are no longer applicable today because anybody can be a criminal. So be vigilant and be mindful always. Okay? So without opportunity, as we have stated, in the crime triangle, this is only where we can intervene and probably prevent crime from happening. Because if we don't provide opportunity to those criminals, then the crime triangle will not be formed. One of the elements of crime will never be given. Therefore, crime will not exist. Instrumentality, you cannot remove that. Capability, you cannot totally remove that. Desire, intent, or motive, you cannot also remove that because that is already part of us or our consciousness as a human being. So we cannot remove those two elements of crime the desire, intent, motive, and instrumentality and capability. But what we can do is not provide opportunity. If we will not provide any opportunity to the criminals, even the most motivated criminals will not succeed in their criminal act. Only if we don't provide the opportunity. We don't invite them to victimize us or to do us harm. Okay? So that is the crime triangle, the elements of crime. Okay, thank you again for asking this matter. If you have questions relative to this or relative to criminology, you can comment that down below and I will answer it. See you next meeting.